Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. Welcome to another episode of Haqiqatjou, where we discuss religion and politics, the two least controversial subjects. As always, I am your host, Daniel Haqiqatjou, and today we have a reaction for you. Reaction to NAS Daily. As you know, we've reacted to NAS Daily a couple of times on Haqiqatjou and on the channel. And we're going to really react to a telling, revealing interview that NAS Daily has done recently with Israeli Zionist podcast. The podcast itself didn't get many views, but what he says in this podcast is so shocking, is so revealing, and it gives us an indication of things to come for the Middle East politically, but also an indication of things to come online with social media and what the Zionists have planned in terms of their influence operation to influence me, to influence you, to influence the entire Muslim world. And this is part of the larger plan that we've talked about, creating this kind of Judeo-Muslim, a Muslim who really understands that Israel is the ally of the Muslims. Judaism is equal to Islam and Christianity, and we're all part of this Abrahamic family, and Israel is here to stay. We have to treat Israel just like we treat any other country. Just like we have Egypt, we have Morocco, we have Libya, we have Malaysia, Indonesia, Pakistan, and Israel. And this is all one big happy family. We have to, and anyone who is against Israel, anyone who's against this colonial project, anyone who's against this Zionism, the Zionist project, that's an extremist. You're an extremist, a hateful, anti-Semitic bigot, and that has nothing to do with Islam. Islam is all about tolerating our Abrahamic brothers, and we're one big Abrahamic family. This is what the Abrahamic project is all about. And this is the influence operation that's being conducted through agents like NAS Daily. But NAS Daily is not the only agent. There is a whole host of agents that are operating, and I've talked about them many times. I've posted about them many times on this channel, on Twitter, because it's very obvious that they're agents. It's very obvious that their interests are not the interests of the Ummah, the interests of Muslims. They are giving the veneer and presenting a facade of being in support of Islam, being in support of the Ummah and the interests of even the Palestinians. They give a facade, but really what they're advocating is Zionism. What they're pushing is not Muslim interests, but Israeli interests, Zionist interests. And we can talk about someone like Rabbi Faris Hamadi. Rabbi Faris Hamadi, as you've seen on this channel, and we've presented so many of the evidences, he will present himself as a Salafi, Sheikh, Imam. He's located in the UAE, in Dubai, and he's literally on the government payroll. He's literally on the UAE payroll. There's no denying that, because he has official position. Like, he gives talks and classes and khutbahs at official masajid that are controlled and run by the government. If you don't know this, it's not like Western countries, like the United States. If you want to go and be a preacher or an imam in the UAE, the government literally has to approve you. And if you're the imam or a speaker, a khatib at one of the big masajid in Dubai, in a city center, then that is a government role, and you are going to give the khutbah based on what the government approves of. Literally, sometimes it's literally a script that the government gives you. You have talking points that you have to convey, and this is the norm actually for most of the Arab world, but especially in the UAE. So the fact that he has this position means that he is on the government payroll. Now, if Rabbi Faris was just talking about random subjects and leaving it non-political, okay, fine. You would say that, well, there's no indication here that he is pushing Zionism. But when he goes on the minbar and he says that boycotting Israel is haram, for example, boycotting Israel is haram, then whose interests is he really representing? Yeah, he's speaking in Islamic language, he's using Islamic terminology, yeah, he has a beard and he's dressed as a Muslim, but whose interests does this fatwa serve, for example? Or when he's speaking out against Hamas, when he's speaking out against the Palestinian resistance, whose interests are really served by that? And the vast majority of Muslims are immediately able to recognize what's going on here. When Rabbi Faris comes out and he says, don't share pictures and don't share video evidence of the atrocities that Israel is committing against the Palestinians, he comes out and he gives that kind of fatwa. Whose interests are really being served by that? It's their Israeli interests that are being served, not Muslim interests, because as we know, showing the barbarity of the Israeli genocide in Gaza, that has been so critical towards winning a media war against the Zionist state. The Zionist state that is trying to conduct this genocide, this ethnic cleansing that has killed nearly 400,000 Palestinians, nearly 20% or more of the population within Gaza has been eliminated because of Zionism over the past 18, 19 months. And the biggest impact that has been had to destroy the reputation of Israel globally is all the footage, all the pictures and video that is coming online from the Palestinians. And someone like Rabbi Faris comes online, Faris Hamadi, he has a beard, he's dressed as a Muslim, he says Bismillah, he gives his fatwa, and maybe he even tries to cite a hadith or cite some verse of the Quran. But at the end of the day, the fatwa is serving who? It's serving Israel. It's serving Israeli interests. And that makes sense that an agent of the UAE government, which is at the forefront in terms of Muslim countries that is trying to normalize relations with Israel, develop deeper economic, diplomatic ties with Israel, it's no surprise that the biggest agents targeting the Muslim world are coming from the UAE and are somehow tied to the UAE government. Isn't it interesting how the UAE is they have some expatriates from the West, but the majority of Emiratis, they don't speak English. That's not their main language. So why is there so much English language media coming from the UAE? Why is there so much media that is being pumped out onto social media coming specifically from the UAE when they don't have that kind of population? This is an attempt to control the discourse outside of the UAE, targeting specifically English-speaking Western Muslims in the United States, in the UK, in Europe in general, specifically targeting them. Why? Because Israel has recognized, and their client state, the UAE, recognizes that the biggest opponents of Israel in the Muslim world, the ones that have the biggest reach and have potentially the biggest influence, they're the ones who are in the West, Muslims in the West. This creates a problem. This creates a PR problem where you have Muslims in the West who are speaking English on YouTube. They have millions of followers. Their videos get millions of views, and they're speaking against Israel. They're speaking against Zionism. They're speaking against Zionist normalization and the Abraham Accords. How can we address this? This becomes a PR problem for Israel. This is a huge problem in the media war. Well, we have this client state, the UAE. They can plausibly present themselves as Muslims. They speak Arabic fluently. They can recite the Quran. They can recite hadith. They can plausibly represent Islamic orthodoxy. So we have some of these figures. We give them all the legitimacy through money, giving them positions at these big mosques, at these big masajid in the Emirates, having them present their halaqas, their durus, recording that with the best video equipment, with actual video teams that come and put out this high production material online, on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook and Twitter and all of social media. And we're pumping out what? We're pumping out Israeli Zionist talking points, except they're masked. They're covered in the veneer of Islamic knowledge. In the case of Rabbi Faris, this is in Salafism. He's a Salafi sheikh who cares about the Quran, Sunnah, and the Salaf. He's going to specifically be targeting the Salafi inclined Muslims. But that's just one part of the media operation. You want to target every demographic. You want to cover every segment of the Muslim population, the religious Muslim population, the non-religious Muslim population, the more secular population. So you have someone like Nas Daily. Nas Daily is perfect for this kind of cosmopolitan Arab youth, maybe in Egypt, maybe in Beirut, maybe in Damascus, more cosmopolitan, Generation Z, this kind of youth that really wants to make connections with the entire globe, wants to hold hands with the entire globe, just a citizen of the world, like this type, this type of mentality that we see amongst the younger generations. They're more liberal, more feminist. Who do you target that demographic? Well, you have Nas Daily. What is Nas Daily's videos all about? It's all about traveling the world. We're all one humanity. We all love each other. Let's all hold hands, and let's all hold hands with Israel. That's Nas Daily's message. So 90%, if you look at Nas Daily, if you look at Rabbi Faris, 90% of their message is targeting the demographic, targeting the specific group. So with Rabbi Faris, 90% of his content is promoting Salafism. And this is what makes him believable, what makes him plausible. That's what attracts his students, attracts a following. 10% is this poison. 10% is the Israeli talking points, the Zionist talking points. Nas Daily, same thing. Nas Daily, same thing. So he'll have 90% or 95% of his content about going to Singapore, going to Senegal, going to Mexico, eating the food, talking with the locals. Oh, isn't this so beautiful? We're all one humanity. 10% or 5% of his content is, Islam, Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism. We're all one religion. And look at, can't we have peace in the Middle East? Can't we have peace if the Palestinians would stop being terrorists? If the Palestinians would just understand the value of peace and love, like we do, like I do, Nas Daily, if the Palestinians would just stop shooting rockets, we could finally have peace in the Middle East. It's because of these closed-minded fundamentalists in Gaza, in the West Bank. That's the reason that we can't have peace. Jews want peace. Israel wants peace, but the Palestinians won't allow it. We need to get beyond this terrorism. That's 5% of Nas Daily's message. And then who else? So you have someone like Rabbi Faris. You have someone like Nas Daily. You have people who are targeting more of the secular types, like someone like Loay Sharif. He's another one of these more secular Arab types. Amjad Taha, or Taha Amjad, mix up his first and last name. He's another one of these more secular types. Then you have targeting the Shia, targeting Shia Muslims. Who do you have targeting them? Imam Tawhidi. Remember this? The Imam of Piss? The Imam of Piss is targeting Shia Muslims because he's a Shia trained. He's studying in Qom in Iran, in the Shia seminaries in Iran. He's going and preaching to the Shia that we have to recognize peace. We want peace. So that means throwing out the terrorism that's found in our religion, the terrorism that's found in Islam. So this is an agent. This is an agent for Israeli interests. You have people who are dedicated to targeting the Sufi side, the Sufi, more traditionalist, the non-Salafi religious Muslims. Who's that? You have Abdullah bin Bayya. Abdullah bin Bayya, Mauritanian scholar, sheikh, well respected. He comes in and he is sponsored by the UAE, is given a very high position in the UAE, is leading all of these conferences that the UAE puts on about peace. We want to promote peace in the Middle East. And the biggest problem that we have in the region is not Israel. The biggest problem is not Zionism. The biggest problem are these intolerant interpretations of Islam that lead to terrorism and extremism. So we want moderation. We want to go back to the Sufi principles of love, mercy, and tolerance. This is what Abdullah bin Bayya preaches, targeting that side of the spectrum. And who does he have? His student, Hamza Yusuf. Also, for the English-speaking side, the Western side, you have Hamza Yusuf, another respected figure in the Western Muslim community, and he is also attending the same conferences. He has this being patronized by the same figures within the UAE, political figures in the UAE. He's targeting that side. And then you have someone like Shahid Bolsen, or you can call him Shahid Bolstein, who his channel is blowing up. Shahid Bolstein, his channel is just blowing up, more and more followers. Who knows where these followers are coming from, who find his political analysis just so on point. So on point. He says things like Iran and Israel are actually friends behind the scenes. It's all just political theater. He's been saying this for months. He says that the real enemies of Israel, the colonial project of Israel, the real enemies are who? UAE and Saudi. They're the real enemies. Because when you normalize with Israel, that's economic warfare. You're economically conquering Israel if you normalize with Israel. That proves that the UAE and Saudi are actually the enemies of Israel. But Iran is the friend of Israel. They have all of these deals together. And it's a symbiotic relationship. This is what Bolstein says. And that's how sophisticated this kind of Hasbara or influence operation really is. The Hasbara is so sophisticated that someone like Bolstein will openly speak as if he's against Israel. No, I don't like Israel. Israel is a colonial genocidal state. He will say that, but his underlying message is serving Israel's overall mission, which is to normalize with its neighbors and entrench its power in the Middle East, entrench its power in the neighboring Arab countries through the Abraham Accords. That's their mission. So it doesn't matter how you get to that point. It doesn't matter how you're able to achieve that. Just say whatever you need to say. Say whatever you need to say to run this psyop, to run this influence operation. You have Muslims who are listening to Shahid Bolstein think, wow, yeah, that's true. We should support normalization with Israel. Wow, we should back the UAE and Saudi and stop criticizing them, because that's what Bolstein says. Don't criticize the UAE and Saudi. But Bolstein doesn't use the rhetoric of Rabbi Faris. When Rabbi Faris says, don't criticize the UAE and Saudi, he uses the rhetoric of Wahhabism, Madkhalism. He cites a hadith and misuses the hadith to give this false, deviant interpretation that on a religious basis, on an Islamic basis, we shouldn't criticize the UAE and Saudi. Bolstein doesn't do that because Bolstein is not targeting the Salafi crowd. He's not targeting that demographic. Bolstein says, no. He puts it in terms of being anti-colonial, being anti-capitalist. If we want to destroy the capitalist colonial state of Israel, we need to normalize relations with them. We shouldn't criticize them, because if you criticize the UAE, you don't understand the 5D chess that is being played by MBZ, or the 5D chess that's being played by MBS against the Israeli powers. Us mere mortals, we just don't have the capability, the IQ to understand the moves that are being made in Dubai. and Riyadh. We can't comprehend. So don't criticize. This is way beyond your pay grade. But just trust the plan. This is the economic conquest of Israel. This is what he peddles. This is what someone like Bolstein peddles. It's the same slop. It's the same Hasbara slop, except it's targeting a different demographic. And people are eating it up. People are eating it up. So this is the realm of influence operation, and it's something that you can also see politically, because politically Israel also plays both sides. If you look at American politics, you have the Republicans who are infiltrated by Zionist influence in the Israeli lobby, but the Democratic side is also infiltrated by AIPAC. The Democrat side, the liberal side, is also heavily funded by AIPAC and Zionist interests. No difference. So you can vote. It doesn't matter if you vote Republican or you vote Democrat. At the end of the day, whoever you vote for is going to support a Zionist interests and Israel's overarching goals. This is the inevitability when Israel is trying to control both sides. Same thing in the UK. You have Labour Party, you have Conservative Party. At one point there was representation of an anti-Israel contingent within British politics. You had someone like Jeremy Corbyn, who did represent this type of anti-Israel or at least non-Zionist political position. What did they do to Jeremy Corbyn? They smeared him as an anti-Semite, and he was kicked out of the party, basically, and replaced. Now the Labour Party is 100% behind Israel, supporting Israel all the way, even in the moments of the worst moments of the genocide that's been taking place over the past 18 months. Look at the European continent. Same story. Traditionally, in Europe, the right wing was going to be more anti-Semitic. The right wing was going to be more nationalist, more populist, and less interested in defending Israel. But the right wing has been completely infiltrated. Now you have people like Geert Wilders, you have Marie Le Pen, you have other right-wing populists in Germany with the AfD party. They're all Zionists. They're 100%. They're the loudest proponents of Zionism. And they're on the right-wing populist end of the spectrum, as opposed to the left-wing communist side. Whether it's the left-wing communist side, they're going to be Zionists. If it's the right-wing populists, they're going to be Zionists. Doesn't matter who you vote for, you're going to get Zionism. So on the political level, on the level of media and social media, this is the Zionist strategy, is to buy out and control and influence both sides. The only thing that matters is supporting Israel. The only thing that matters is serving Israeli interests. And they're doing the same thing with Muslims. It doesn't matter if you're a Salafi. It doesn't matter if you're Sufi. It doesn't matter if you're Shi'i. It doesn't matter if you're Deobandi. It doesn't matter if you're Brelvi. It doesn't matter if you're a liberal, if you're a feminist, if you're a pro-gay, pro-LGBT Muslim. It doesn't matter. They want to have a Zionist version of that. And they want to make the Zionist version the most prominent, influential, with specific set of influencers, a specific set of outlets on social media that they can pump out this message. So we have to be aware of this operation, and so that we don't fall for it, because their methods are only getting more and more advanced and sophisticated. Not only in terms of their strategy, but in terms of their technology. And this is what we're going to look at when we react to Nas Daily. Because Nas Daily, as someone who has been at the really critical intersection of social media and technology, because if you know this, Nas Daily was with Google. And he's been working closely with the social media companies like Facebook. In the heyday of Facebook, when Facebook was the top social media platform, Nas Daily had a partnership with Facebook, with Mark Zuckerberg. So on the Facebook platform, for example, if you have a page, if I have a page, you have a page, and we post something, let's say we have 100 followers or 1,000 followers or 1,000,000 followers. If you post something onto the platform, your 1,000,000 followers are not going to see what you post. Only a select number, maybe 5%, maybe 2% of your followers will actually see what you post. The rest of your followers are not going to see it unless, there are certain engagement metrics that you get or you pay for it. For example, you can pay, here's $100 to Facebook, and they will actually serve your content to your own followers. Your followers are the ones who have chosen to follow you, yet they're not going to see what you post unless they go specifically to your page. It's not going to come organically onto their feed. You can pay Facebook to show your content. You can pay YouTube, you can pay Twitter to show your content, or Instagram. But otherwise, it's not going to reach 100% of your followers. But there are exceptions made. There are certain accounts that are privileged above the other accounts, where they will post something, it will go to 100% of the followers' feeds. And Nas Daily is one of those accounts. From the very beginning, Nas Daily had an agreement with Facebook that this is something that Facebook signed on Nas Daily for. And that there's a big question on, why does Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg, Zionist, have such an interest in Nas Daily? Like this Palestinian Israeli from Google, that he's going to elevate his page to that kind of prominence, where no matter what Nas Daily posts, no matter what video he posts, it is served to 100% of his feed, or 100% of his followers' feeds. Has he been like an influence operation connected to the Zionist state for years now? This is a question that we could have. But he's had this kind of leg up. He's had this kind of advantage on social media from the very beginning, and this has allowed him to amass tens of millions of followers internationally. He has massive influence, and what is he preaching? Zionism, Israel normalization. Palestinian terrorists need to be liquidated. They need to be eliminated so that we can achieve peace and have this kind of Abrahamic religion, religious tolerance all together as one big happy family in the Middle East. This is his message. So Nas Daily provides this very prominent example, and we're going to react now to his video where he reveals the next stage in this plan, the next stage in the influence operation, the PSYOP. Nas Daily gives us a very clear picture of what he has planned, and this is an indication of what his handlers have planned for social media. So this is very critical for us to watch and react to, inshallah. So while I'm getting up the video, don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter. The link to the newsletter is found below in the description. You can go and sign in, or sign up rather. We also are going to be looking at your super chats. So if you have a comment that you want me to prioritize, go ahead and put that in the super chats, and later on in the show we will read your comments and your thoughts. I'll prioritize the ones that are related to the topic of the show, and then we'll even get to some unrelated stuff maybe as well, inshallah. Okay, so let me play this and tell me how's the sound, because I want to make sure the sound is good, and then we'll react, inshallah.
A big blow for Iran. That has to be said, and these 12 days rather, will go down in history. But where we go from here is a very big question.
Yeah. This is an amazing example of how the emperor is naked. Everybody thought the emperor had so many clothes made of gold, made of ballistic missiles. And now Lebanon and Syria woke up and realized that the emperor is actually naked. Iran is not that powerful. And why the hell are we, oops, we had to say the word hell. But, it's if the emperor is naked, I should be with the emperor that has a lot of clothes. And that is Israel in this case, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, it really is.
All right, so to set this up, initially they're talking about the war between Iran and Israel. Now, who is this interviewer? This is someone named Yonit Levy. And this podcast that they have, it's not a very big podcast. The video itself has barely a couple of thousand views. But who is this woman? This woman is a journalist in Tel Aviv. And she was originally born in Jerusalem. And she has interviewed George W. Bush in 2008. She has interviewed Barack Obama. She recently interviewed Joe Biden. So 3 presidents. These are sit-down interviews that she's conducted in the White House. And she is a journalist and broadcaster with one of the major Israeli news channels. So she is very well connected, we could say, at the highest levels of world power, literally interviewing presidents, former presidents while they're in office, by the way, not like they're out of office and then she's interviewing them at their home. She's going to the White House while they're in power to interview them. And she's a hardcore Zionist, obviously. She's a hardcore Zionist, and she's having a very friendly discussion interview with NAS Daily. So this is who Yonit is, and the name of the podcast is the Unholy Podcast. Obviously has to be something subversive. The Unholy Podcast. And so now they're talking about, well, the emperor has no clothes. The Iranian government has shown how weak it is. It's been decimated by Israel in 12 days of war.
We have so much to talk about with what it means for Trump and for the region and for Israel and for the other states here, neighboring states. But before we do all that, you have to tell us where this whole thing caught you, where you were during these 12 days.
So for the first time ever in 8 years, I listened to the instructions, and the instructions was every Israeli should hide where they are and should just not be public. And I was like, okay, I'm going into hiding. And I just didn't create content about where I am. So I was just in Singapore and in Dubai, but I didn't tell the world where I am. I decided to just focus on my business because I was actually for the first time worried for my safety because I'm Israeli and, would be a great target for Iran.
So you didn't...
Imagine that, like, he's in Singapore and Dubai, and he thinks that his life is in danger as an Israeli. Do you think it's... what does that tell you about his mentality? First of all, his identity is not as a Palestinian or as an Arab. His identity, and he said this before very explicitly, that he's Israeli first. He's Israel first, even though he's allegedly ethnically Palestinian. But even when he's in Singapore, even when he's in a Muslim country, not even in Israel, he's not in Israel as an Israeli citizen. He's in an Arab country or in Singapore, and he's worried about Iran targeting him. Because this is his conscience, knowing that he is such a major propagandist, Hasbara agent, that he could be a target of Iran. So he's hiding.
Share your location at any point during these days.
And my girlfriend made sure I don't do that either. She was very worried.
Wow, because you think that people would see you as an Israeli. I mean, you are an Israeli, but I'm not sure that's the immediate thing that people know about you.
Well, I think...
Even she's shocked. Like, really? Like, that's not the first thing that people think of with you, right? That you're an Israeli. And it's like, no, that is, especially now, because there's been like a outpouring or a huge backlash against NAS Daily, especially over the past year. Like, we had that video from last year, NAS Daily is a Zionist, and a lot of others have followed suit in pointing out that NAS Daily is promoting Israeli interests. He's backstabbing the Palestinians. He's made it since October 7th. He's made it clear that he considers himself first and foremost an Israeli. So his perception, the public's perception of NAS Daily has definitely changed since October 7th.
I think it would make the news if I was harmed unfortunately. But yes, I believe at this point I'm counted as Israeli.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's funny. I tried to think if I had, I don't need to share, hide my location anyway. It was just home, studio, bomb shelter, home, studio, bomb shelter. So it wasn't very during those days. But it's really interesting to me that you say about the countries in the region that have now figured out, maybe they knew this before in a way, but now they figured out, what the actual balance of power is. I'm really curious about the fact you said you were in Dubai. I'm curious about the fact that not a lot of them are saying this publicly, which is not different, but you would think maybe things would be different after the war.
I coined this as the world's most silent celebration. And so I have a few Lebanese and Syrians and Egyptians in my company, and they're all celebrating. Their families are celebrating. None of them want to be associated with Iran. So I think.
So he has these Lebanese, Egyptians, Arabs working for him who are celebrating the alleged victory of Israel over Iran. So what do you think he's trying to convey?
There's this giant tidal wave under our feet of just hundreds or tens of millions of Arabs just realizing Iran is not going to be there to save you. That's good. That's really good. No? What do you think?
I mean, I think that it's always interesting to me. I found myself thinking this week about Shimon Peres, former president of Israel, who always, this was after the Oslo Accords, he thought it would come from the peace between Israel and the Palestinians, but he talked about the new Middle East, Mizrach Tichon Chadash in Hebrew. And he was mocked for it internally in Israel for sure. And now you see these signs that maybe, and if you add to that the Steve Witkoff saying we might have more countries joining the Abraham Accords, that just happened on the night between Wednesday and Thursday. And you think maybe we are looking at a world where Iran is not the threat that it was, and that maybe there are possibilities here that we didn't even think of before. Or we were talking a lot about the normalization of Israel and Saudi Arabia, but maybe Indonesia, maybe Syria, maybe who knows? Like, where can this go? If we're taking the optimist version, right, then the world is opening up, or the Middle East is opening up.
If you were to bet, what would you bet on joining the Abraham Accords?
I think Saudi Arabia is a more complicated thing. I mean, your mind goes automatically to that, but it's more complicated, and it will have to entail the end of the war in Gaza, which I think we are heading into anyway, because, the latest developments are there's more and more talk about that, and more talk that Trump wants that as, quote unquote, a payback for his assistance on the Iranian issue.
So what they're talking about is Steve Witkoff last week announced. Steve Witkoff is a special envoy to the Middle East in the Trump administration. Steve Witkoff announced that there's going to be some big announcements regarding the expansion of the Abraham Accords. There are going to be other countries, Muslim countries, joining the Abraham Accords. If you don't know the Abraham Accords, this was the deal struck in 2020, the first Trump term, between Israel and the UAE, Morocco, Bahrain, and Sudan. And these countries normalize with Israel. What this means is that you will have economic and diplomatic ties with Israel. And this is a kind of agreement that is going to be on paper, that you're going to make sure that there's no aggression between anyone in your country and Israel. So you can't have any kind of Palestinian group. You can't have any Palestinian resistance group operating in your country. And this is what Israel wants with all of its neighbors. It wants to have an Abrahamic alliance with all of its surrounding Arab neighbors. Obviously, Egypt and Jordan have also normalized a long time ago. Egypt in 1979, Jordan in 1994 normalized with Israel. UAE, Morocco, Bahrain, and Sudan normalized in 2020. And now they're talking about normalizing between Saudi, Syria, Indonesia, and others. And this seems to be indicated by Steve Witkoff. Steve Witkoff didn't explicitly say Syria, Saudi Arabia, but this is what people are speculating. There's a lot of speculation that Syria is going to be normalizing as well, as going to be joining the Abraham Accords as well. And of course, this is something that hasn't been confirmed yet, but there's many reports that have come out regarding this potential normalization by the end of 2025. And none of the Syrian officials that we can tell from the new Syrian government have refuted or denied these reports. So what should we make of that? That this is what is being reported in all of the on all of mainstream media. The U.S. officials are indicating this. Anonymous sources are indicating this within the U.S. government. The Israeli officials are indicating this, or openly stating this, that there will be a normalization agreement. And the Syrian officials, like the president, Shara, is not denying it. They're not denying it, so... And if it does happen, then what can I say? This is what I have been telling you from the very beginning. Since November of 2024, when the Blessed Revolution happened, I said, look, guys, we have to be a little bit skeptical. We have to be a little bit careful in accepting that this is going to turn out well. All of these red flags surrounding, then known as Jolani, all of these red flags surrounding him. He's being promoted by all of the Zionist outlets. They're saying that he's a reformed man. Yeah, he used to be affiliated with ISIS and Al-Qaeda, but he's reformed, and they're praising him. And when we look at his history, he has training from certain Western governments, like the UK. So these are red flags. But I said, look, let's just withhold judgment. That's all I'm saying. Let's just withhold judgment. And for that, I was blasted. For that, I was smeared and attacked. But now, now in June, almost July of 2025, it looks like there is going to be Syria potentially joining the Abraham Accords. And even if it's not like a official designation of joining the Abraham Accords, it's clear that there's a peace deal that's being worked out between Israel and Ahmad Shara, and we'll see what that deal entails. Part of the deal seems to be that Syria will give up the Golan Heights and officially relinquish, and Israel has been occupying it, but just officially giving up the claim, the Syrian claim to the Golan Heights. That seems to be on the table for normalization. So we'll see. This is not confirmed. So I'm not saying make a judgment now. I'm saying let's wait and see what will happen. But they're not denying it. The Syrian officials are not denying that such a deal is being made with the Zionist state. But the important thing to note about the Abraham Accords is that the UAE framed the Abraham Accords in a certain way. They knew that if they normalize with Israel, the entire Arab world would see that as a betrayal. You've betrayed the Palestinians, you've betrayed the Arabs, and you've betrayed the Ummah. You've betrayed the Muslims because you have normalized and made peace with a country that is actively involved with not only killing, but also discriminating against, disenfranchising, making refugees our Muslim brothers and sisters. These are the people that you have decided to make peace with, as they have blood on their hands, as their hands are literally soaked in the blood of Muslims. You're shaking that hand and you're making peace with them. This is a betrayal. The UAE knew that would be the reaction, so they framed it in a certain way. They said, no. We made this deal as a way to stop Israel from expanding settlements in the West Bank. In the West Bank, you have Israel helping settlers using the IDF to help settlers expand and to push out the Palestinians in the West Bank as they grab more and more land. This is contrary to international law, but they do it anyway, obviously, because no one can stop them. We made the whole premise of us normalizing with Israel is that Netanyahu says, and Trump assures us, that they're going to pause the expansion of settlements in the West Bank. So we're helping the Palestinians. The Abraham Accords helps the Palestinians. All we want to do is help. All we want to do is help our Palestinian brothers and sisters. Can't you see that? So the UAE framed the entire agreement, the normalization, in these terms. Like, normalization is a way to assist the Palestinians. That's exactly what whichever countries are going to normalize I don't know. Is it going to be Saudi? Is it going to be Syria? Is it going to be who? Who's going to normalize? Is it going to be Lebanon? Whoever is going to normalize is going to follow the same pattern, most likely. They will also say that we are normalizing for the sake of Gaza. We are normalizing because Israel is saying that they will stop the genocide. They will stop the genocide of Gaza if we agree to this peace agreement. So for the sake of the Palestinians in Gaza, that's why we normalized. That's the way that they're going to sell it. That's the way that they're going to sell it to the ummah. And what is Israel going to do? The same thing that Israel is doing in the West Bank. You think that Israel paused expansion of settlements indefinitely? No, maybe like a month at most. And then they continued full steam ahead. They got what they wanted, and they don't abide by any agreements. They're going to probably end up annexing the entirety of the West Bank by the end of Trump's term, his second term. And similarly, they're going to evacuate and ethnically cleanse the rest of Gaza by the end of Trump's second term as well. It doesn't matter the agreement that is going to be made with Saudi or Syria or whoever. But I'm just telling you in advance that this is how they're going to sell it. And you're going to have these propagandists, these Hasbara agents. You will have people like Rabbi Ferris. You will have people like Shahid Bolstein and others saying that this is a great victory. This is a great victory for Palestine. We have ended the genocide, and it's because of our genius Arab dictators or Arab rulers who, using this masterful stroke of wisdom and strategy, have prevented the Palestinian genocide. The Iranians couldn't do it. The Iranians only killed Palestinians. Iranians are the friends of Israel. It's only the Arab states, the Arab presidents and rulers with their wisdom, that they understood how to really stop the genocide of the Palestinians by normalizing with Israel. See, this is the diplomatic conquest of Israel. That's what Shahid Bolstein is going to say. So I'm just telling you in advance, because once you know the people involved, you know what the objectives are that Israel has, what they've been working towards, then it's not like you need to be able to see the future. Like, you can just very easily predict what's going to happen. What are the next steps? And my track record has been pretty good, alhamdulillah. I've been able to tell you step by step what's going on.
His assistance to Israel. So I don't know if Saudi Arabia is the first, but again, Indonesia could be an interesting thing. Perhaps Syria. Wow. I mean, I don't know. This could go in all kinds of directions. And you know this better than I do. You were in Dubai. You were in that, so you hear the voices coming out from there. It's so interesting. I was in Abu Dhabi a few months ago, and it's strange how as an Israeli you feel comfortable talking Hebrew everywhere, and in Europe you find yourself being a little more careful where you would speak Hebrew out loud. I mean, that just, I think, goes to show, it's indicative in a way of how that peace has been quite successful, I think, to this point.
You know, it's so funny you mentioned that. I feel more comfortable wearing my t-shirt in Dubai than I do in New York. I feel comfortable being publicly NAS daily because I know that the government is here to protect, while you don't feel it as much in Europe and the United States. But if
the government is protecting you personally, NAS daily, is that what you're saying? Like, you have a special relationship with the UAE government, or you just mean like the UAE has a good police presence, or what exactly, as opposed to New York, as opposed to the US or Europe? So I'm not saying that he's outing himself explicitly, but it's raises an eyebrow. What does he mean? Like the government is going to protect you as a Zionist in the UAE, in Dubai? You go and like openly be a Zionist and you're going to be protected. What does that tell you about these Abraham Accord countries? This is what they want for the entirety of the Middle East. You can be, and that's why Dubai is the #1 tourist destination for Israelis. Dubai has become like a second Israel, like a second Tel Aviv, because all of the tourism that is going into the UAE. And their whole point is that the Israelis are very safe in the UAE because the government there is controlled. The government there is infiltrated, and you will feel safe as an Israeli, as a Zionist. This is what they want for Saudi. This is what they want for Lebanon, for Syria, for Jordan and Egypt to a certain extent. That also exists, but they want even more. They want even more. So it's not like the people in Dubai, the Muslims in Dubai and these countries are going to be friendly with Zionists. They're going to tolerate Zionists who will come in and... Because you have IDF soldiers going to Dubai and being very open about being IDF soldiers. The only way that they can do that is there is a massive state apparatus that's protecting them. That's protecting them and allowing them to basically rub it in your face that, yeah, I'm in the IDF. I just finished massacring your people, Muslims, and now I'm sunning myself on the beach in Dubai on vacation, on holiday. That can only happen, that level of chutzpah can only take place in your face audacity if the state is protecting you.
If I were a betting man, I'm not a betting man, but if I were a betting man, I would bet that Syria would be the one to join the Abraham Accords for a couple of reasons. One, it's like, this is the time to make radical change, right? Everything goes now. You can redraw the country, you can redraw the peace treaties, you can do whatever. And number two, I don't feel like the Syrians felt much support from the Palestinians over the last 15 years. I do feel like a lot of the Palestinian factions are very like single issue voters. If you support me, I will give up on everything just to get my Palestinian state. And I feel like the Syrians have felt like, okay, well, you don't seem to care much about us, so I don't know why we should care about you. And the same thing happened in Kuwait, right? You know, at some point, Kuwait kicked out every single Palestinian because they sided with Iraq. So we see that happening many times where I'm going to bet on Syria.
That's really...
Years of calm.
So that's very interesting, his analysis of Syrians. And I don't think that he speaks for the majority of Syrians, but you do see among some Syrians that's hyper-nationalism where they say, we don't care about the Palestinians. And whether that's motivated by their own nationalism or it's motivated by a grievance that they have, like, oh, why aren't these Palestinians doing enough for us? What do you mean? What could have the Palestinians done for Syria? Like, were Palestinians going to... They don't have a state. Were the Palestinians going to somehow go and stop Bashar al-Assad? I don't know, like, what the expectation was there. But whether it's based off of grievance, whether it's based off of this kind of myopic nationalism, there are some Syrians who they don't actually care. They say, like, what matters the most is for us is the safety of Syria, economic viability of Syria. We've been in 15 years of civil war. We've been under the boot of this tyrant, Bashar al-Assad. We need peace. So yes, make the deal with Benjamin Netanyahu, bring peace to Syria, and we don't care actually what happens to the Palestinians. Unfortunately, this is a sentiment that you find in Syria. You find it in all of these countries, actually. You find it in Iran. In Iran also you see some Iranians who say, we don't care about the Palestinians, we want safety, we don't want to go to war with Iran. So you see people like this in every country. I'm not trying to pick on the Syrians, but it's interesting that this is what Nas Daily wants to highlight, as if there is this kind of underlying animosity. When he says that tens of millions, going back to his previous statement, tens of millions of Arabs are celebrating quietly. They're happy that Israel is winning. They're happy that Israel is defeating Hezbollah, defeating Iran, defeating Hamas. They're happy about those victories because they want peace, and Israel represents peace and security and economic progress.
And the reason I say this is because for the first time in almost 2 years, Israel has an off-ramp, which is, look at us. Because of that attack on October 7th, we were dominating Iran. That almost feels like an off-ramp, which is we have kind of won what we wanted. What we wanted is just no threats in our border, and we just cut the head of the snake or the head of the octopus or whatever. So I might, let's say, we're not betting.
I think you've been doing these really
So I think this is a lot of cope. I think this is what a lot of the Hasbara agents are putting out, that Iran was soundly defeated, that Israel had this major victory. But this is really doubtful. This is really questionable. None of the strategic objectives that Israel had with regards to Iran were accomplished. So how is it a victory? Israel wanted to, one, eliminate the nuclear program of Iran. That was a failure. Now it's become the consensus that Iran maintains its stockpile of enriched uranium, and its major bases at Fordo and even in Isfahan were not completely destroyed. They were damaged, but the most important centrifuges were not destroyed, maybe damaged, but they still can operate within months, if not weeks. So destroying the nuclear program failed. And then the second objective, which is the ultimate objective, is regime change in Iran, toppling the government. And that, of course, did not happen either. So in what sense did Israel succeed? They didn't decapitate the head of the octopus. Khamenei is still there. The IRGC is still there. They still have their nuclear program. They still have their ballistic missiles program. They're still able to build more and more ballistic missiles. What has only been shown is that Israel can't defend against these ballistic missiles, and Iran can, with pinpoint accuracy, target major military and civilian infrastructure within Israel. That's all that's been proven. And we did a whole analysis of the war in the previous episode. But this is a lot of cope from Nas Daily and this Jewish woman that is interviewing him. Emperor has no clothes. Iran has no clothes. So now the Arab countries, according to Nas Daily, are going to scurry to the safety of Israel. Iran can't protect you. Maybe there was some question whether Iran was going to rise and take over Israel's position as the dominant power in the Middle East. But that hasn't happened, according to Nas Daily. In fact, now Israel is the indisputable power that all the countries, if they want safety, if they want security, have to gather behind, is Israel, not Iran. This is the narrative that he is spinning, but it is divorced from basic facts that we all saw in 4K footage coming on social media and the news channels.
Beautiful content. Some of it is really, it's gorgeous. It uses AI a lot, and it kind of, during the brief Iran-Israel war, you showed how once indeed there was peace between Israel and Iran, and you also showed how you think there will be peace between Israel and the Palestinians. And it's it's so great to see that. I don't know.
I saw this video in Qatar, people running away from the...
So now they're talking about Nas Daily's videos and how he's using AI technology to show Israel and its neighbors in peace, Israel and Iran, Jews and Muslims all holding hands, singing Kumbaya. This is the beautiful Abrahamic tolerance that we all want to get to in the Middle East, as opposed to the violent fundamentalism of the Palestinians and the Palestinian resistance groups and Iran and the Islamists. We want to get beyond that. We want peace. So he represents that future through AI. And as he says, the AI is now getting better and better and better.
Rockets and the whole Gulf, just for one night, felt what Israel felt for the last few decades, right? The rockets falling on their country. They want the Iron Dome. For the first time ever, we had this shared humanity of shared fear of rockets being falling on us. And I think, on that one night, I saw the Gulf just move to the left, move towards Israel and not towards Iran. So that was really optimistic. Syria is is a great development. Lebanon is great development. No Hezbollah rockets to mention.
So he's saying that in Qatar, they saw like these 12 ballistic missiles that Iran launched at the Udeid Air Force Base, the U.S. Air Force Base in Qatar. The biggest U.S. Air Force base in the Middle East is located in Qatar. And Iran, after the U.S. Attacked Fordo and other nuclear sites with 14 or 16 bombs, then Iran retaliated with a kind of symbolic strike against this Air Force base in Qatar. Nas Daily is saying, the Qataris were seeing the Iranian ballistic missiles and they felt like they were Israelis. And there was a moment of empathy that they had with the Israelis that, oh, look at Iran. We're in such danger. We really need to go and rally behind Israel against this Iranian threat. Imagine like the level of delusional lying that any Qatari or any Muslim would go and see 18 months of vicious genocide against the Palestinians, the Arab Muslim Palestinians, and then any person would say that, oh yeah, the Israelis are the ones who are going to protect my interests. Israel is the one that's going to really care about me as an Arab or as a Qatari or as a Muslim. Like, no Muslim would ever think that, but someone like Nas Daily, that's the way that he allegedly thinks, or how he wants to present himself as thinking.
I don't see the reason I said there's going to be 15 years of peace.
I do want to talk though about a little bit about, again, the work that you have been doing, and also how we think that could, to be very, very blunt about this, how this can save the world. But no, how this can really make the world a better place. I mean, can you inject some more optimism in our conversation?
Well, I think 30 years ago, if you wanted to reach 1 million people, it would cost you $1 million. That's why you could only have Al Jazeera doing all this content, because it was really, really, really expensive to do that. And if you notice, over the last 3 years, the cost of content has gone to almost $100. So what used to cost us $10,000 a year ago now costs us $100 because of the AI technology. Now we can recreate shots, visiting the Pope, and you can recreate the Pope saying things which otherwise would be impossible. And you can do it in Arabic, you can do it in Hebrew, you can do it in whatever. So you can actually reach hundreds of millions of people for very cheap now, which means the democratization of content. All I'm saying this is, I think Israel, what MOSSAD did in Iran, which was so amazing, these operations that were so impressive, we need a MOSSAD for media. What is that MOSSAD for media? Building out these content, these channels in Egypt, in Iran, that infiltrate not the commanders and the military, but infiltrate the mind of the average person, and just tell them that Israel is here to exist, and we're not your enemy. We want to coexist with you in peace.
Let's use our spy agency to infiltrate the Muslim mind across these countries to let them know that we're about peace. We're just about peace. We have to infiltrate your mind with our spy agency, the agency that is responsible for assassinating many of the world's leaders in history. That spy agency is going to infiltrate your consciousness to let you know that we're about peace, that Israel's just about peace and love. So this contradiction is lost on Nas Daily. He just says this unironically.
I think a MOSSAD for media is needed, and unfortunately, not enough attention was paid for this in the last 20 years.
Hello, Unit 8200 is dedicated to this. Unit 8200 is dedicated to influencing social media, flooding social media with millions of bots, and now increasingly AI bots. You don't even have to have a handler. It's AI that is responding to your tweets. It's AI that is replying in the comments. It's AI that is putting out videos. Even videos and testimonials are like full videos are being released by AI bots on social media, and it's connected to Mossad. It's a Mossad program, Unit 8200.
But maybe in the next 20 years it'll change.
That is a difficult thing, but even if you do, how do you get that to be on a larger scale? I mean, as you say, you don't need much. You need the ability to have these AI, videos and travel the world with them, basically.
By the way, everything I'm saying now is 1 month old. So there's been a technological revolution a month ago by Google. They released a video model. It's called VO3. Just that model has enabled us to get more than 100 million views since it started a month ago. So
wow.
Without that
So everything
model,
you've done for that month got 100 million views? Wow.
Yes. And it would be impossible to do a month and a day before. Now just think about that.
That's so. What is the what? Tell us more about that technology. Like, what does it do?
So
that didn't exist before.
Yeah, it's basically now I can just ask it, hey, create a video of the Pope saying, "I love NAS daily." And you can see a realistic
Oh, that's authentic.
version.
That actually exists. It's in Latin, it's in Hebrew, it's in Arabic. I saw it. It really exists.
Yeah, it really exists. So I can imagine any world. Imagine me next to Dr. Martin Luther King watching his speech. You can see that and it feels very realistic. I think before, a month and a day before, it was just like the technology wasn't quite there yet. Now it's there. So I'm telling you now, imagine 5 months from now, it's going to be double there. It's going to be double as good. I just wouldn't sleep on what's happening now. I think anybody that's interested in politics should obsess over this new technology because it opens up doors to build 100 channels in Iran, in Farsi today.
I'm curious, by the way, how many.
So the AI technology now, according to him, just the past month has advanced to such a degree that you can have videos that look like human beings. It looks like human beings. You could impersonate the Pope and have him say certain things, and it comes off as authentic, as real. That's how good the AI technology has gotten. And Nas Daily already wants to use it for Mossad, Mossad purposes, creating 100 channels. So if you want to really influence Iranians, you have 100 channels filled with avatars, basically. These are AI people. They look like real people. They speak perfect Farsi, and they're preaching a Zionist message. And maybe they're dedicated, like you have an Iranian channel dedicated to food, like a cooking channel. You have an Iranian channel dedicated to soccer, to football commentary. You have another Iranian channel dedicated to hijab fashion. You fill basically every single niche. You fill every single vertical with an AI channel speaking perfect Farsi. And again, the same model. 90% is about hijabi fashion. 90% is about travel. 90% is about football and soccer. The 10% is where they put in the Hasbara, the Israeli propaganda. You can basically exponentially scale this model that they've been using to infiltrate every single channel, every single country's social media landscape. Iran, Egypt, Syria, Lebanon, Morocco, Algeria, Turkey, Pakistan, Bangladesh, every single region, Muslim country, can have 100, 1,000 channels. You just flood social media, and people will consume it because, like, oh well, I love to see. I'm a Muslim in Bangladesh, and I really enjoy cricket, and I want to follow cricket commentary, and this is a great channel. I'm going to subscribe. I'm going to watch the content. And then, someone else in Bangladesh comes along, maybe a MuslimSkeptic fan in Bangladesh says that, hey, do you know that this cricket channel is actually spreading Israeli talking points or this kind of pro-Abrahamic religion psyop? And then people, oh, what are you talking about? He's just a sincere Muslim who's just commenting on cricket, and his analysis is really great. You need to have husn al-dhan. You need to have husn al-dhan of this cricket channel. Just like some people have said, you need to have husn al-dhan of Shahid Bolstein and Rabbi Ferris and all of these other agents. The same. Imagine it's going to just be expanded to the nth degree. It's quite terrifying. It's quite it's a very dark future, unfortunately. I wish I could be more optimistic about it, but this is when you know what the technology is and you know what their model is, and now they're expressing the intention to deploy this. That's essentially going to be our future, and we can't really match it because the kind of resources that Nas Daily has, or Mossad has, the Israeli government has to spread these channels and infiltrate every single Muslim population, the average Muslim doesn't have. And our government you know, any government that does have any interest for the future of the Ummah, they haven't shown any kind of interest in fighting fire with fire or counteracting this kind of psyop. And there's got to be plenty of regulations as well to make sure that it's only the Zionist-aligned technology companies or countries that have access to this technology, the ability to make these videos and to have channels. They're trying to gatekeep it. They're trying to limit it to very specific segments, whether you're in tech, whether you're connected to some of these social media companies, with Google, with OpenAI, with Meta or Facebook. All of these are Zionist companies. They're headed by literal Zionists. Sam Altman of OpenAI, he's a hardcore Zionist. Mark Zuckerberg of Meta, hardcore Zionist. We already know about Elon Musk, and on and on. So they're trying to gatekeep so that this technology is only accessible, and therefore this influence operation is only accessible to Zionists and Zionist-aligned governments. This is the future landscape we're looking at, and I'm going to show you some examples of the videos that he's talking about of him making using this AI, and just give me a second to pull them up.
People are listening to or seeing your videos in Iran. Do you have the data on that?
I wish. No, I want to. But
Okay.
by the way, I'm about to make a decision to build a Farsi channel. I'm just in the process of raising the funds for it. But a Farsi.
Yeah, he's raising funds for a Farsi channel. I wonder how it's gonna be difficult to raise funds, right, Nas?
This is the time for a Farsi channel.
It is. It really is. I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But you're making it sound wonderful.
But you saw this thing when Iran went dark because there was no internet. 200 and I think pro-Scottish independence accounts went also dark on Twitter.
Yeah.
Indicating that there may have been an Iranian plot to promote Scottish independence on Twitter. And
Amazing.
There's so many accounts that are like super American accounts that are run by Abdul in Pakistan.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, that's why I do think it's a Mossad for media, because this is war. Mm-hmm. Media is war. It's not fun, let's have fun, let's make videos. If you don't do this, someone else is going to get access to Video 3. They're going to paint an Israeli doing something really, really crazy in Sri Lanka, and you're going to get every Sri Lankan to hate Israelis because of a fake media created by this model that I'm talking about. So,
yeah, you need fake AI to show Israelis committing atrocities. Like only now, with the advent of advanced AI, could we ever depict Israelis committing crimes, murdering children, murdering innocent civilians. That's like so beyond the realm of reality. You need AI to be able to create it.
So this is a race and a war.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't feel like enough people are paying attention to it.
It's so interesting. I remember at the beginning of the...
No one's paying attention to it, yeah. It's only Iran that runs influence operations, not Mossad. Mossad has to catch up. Mossad hasn't really realized the power of the internet yet. According to Nas Daily, he's trying to wake them up. Come on, Mossad, use this technology for good. Like Iran is trying to get Scottish independence in Scotland, because somehow that serves Iran for Scotland to be independent from the UK. But this is... Every accusation is a confession. That's what we know, right?
War right after October 7th, I had one of the leaders of the Jewish community in New York. She was talking about what was happening on campuses. And she said to me, we were for years trying to figure out what the right wallpaper for our house on campus is. And everyone else was figuring out the war is in a completely different place. And you're so right about this media thing and this media war, which we, again, as Israelis, seem to be losing terribly, and particularly losing it with the sort of age group that you're a part of, maybe even younger than that, the 20-year-olds, the 30-year-olds, which does, kind of beg the question, how do you turn that around? I mean, is it just a lot of content dropped on the heads of a lot of people? Is that the math here, or is it something deeper?
Yeah, how about stop the genocide? Stop committing all of these crimes. Stop invading your neighbors. Like, stop annexing the West Bank, stop trying to annex southern Lebanon, southern Syria, stop dropping bombs on all of these Muslim countries. Maybe that could help the PR problem.
It's a very good question. I think that's it. You know, we can never win the game of just absolute numbers. Israelis, there's too few of us. But
there's too few of us, Nas Daily says, the allegedly Palestinian. There's too few of us Israelis.
But maybe media is becoming more of a technological race, because in the past it was a creative race. You know, a creative and a financial race. Who has the most money and the most reporters wins the media race. Now it's like, who has the biggest and the most and the strongest AI agent that creates the most number of videos. And if it is a technological race, that is good news for Israel. Again, optimism wins. You know, because whenever there's technology, Israel wins.
Yeah, so this is a complete lie, of course. Whoever wins on the media is not just about whoever had the most reporters and who is the most creative. Whoever controls the media, whoever can gatekeep and censor the opposition, that's the side that usually wins. And that's been the case for the majority of conventional media. With TV and radio and film and music, you had this kind of lock where criticism of Israel was not allowed, criticism of Judaism was not allowed. Then the internet blew up, and then there was there wasn't the same level of censorship or regulation, the ability to control the internet like you could control TV stations or radio stations or music producers. You couldn't control them in the same way. When the internet came onto the scene, there was an explosion of anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism exploded because you had all these people who are now criticizing Israel. They're openly talking about Israel. They're openly talking about Judaism. But there was a big clampdown on that as well, on the internet, on social media, a large amount of censorship that came as well. And that censorship was pretty strong. Then October 7th happened. And with October 7th, my analysis of it is that there's just so much, just so many accounts, so many people who are outraged about what Israel is doing to the Palestinians, that the old model of censorship really couldn't survive. It couldn't be effective given this new reality. There has to be a new model of censorship. If you were going to censor everyone that criticized Israel, you'd have to delete over half of the internet. And they did consider that. They were thinking about banning TikTok. TikTok was one of the main social media platforms that had this looser policy, looser censorship policy, where you did have a lot of very critical content against Israel, and the US could not control TikTok as a platform. So they have passed a law that bans TikTok, and it's only because Donald Trump has delayed the implementation of that law that TikTok is still available to the masses. The problem is that TikTok is so popular that they can't just take it offline. And that's why Trump has to keep extending this deadline, or extending this legislation going into effect. Because if it goes into effect, then TikTok has to stop operating in the United States, or they have to sell. TikTok has to sell to American investors, Zionists, to control the platform. So TikTok has made some concessions in exchange for not having to sell. Now they do more censorship, but it's still not to the level that Israel needs. Israel needs complete censorship because the kinds of things that Israel is doing is so outrageous. The genocide is so disgusting, so shocking, so inhumane that anyone who knows the basic facts of what's going on in Gaza is going to be not just anti-Israel, but virulently, aggressively anti-Israel. They're chanting death to the IDF in the UK at their music concerts. They're chanting free Palestine. So things are really getting out of hand from the Israeli perspective. So there needs to be a new kind of censorship regime, and they're still trying to figure that out. But a part of the equation, a part of their solution is, as what Nas Daily talked about, we're going to flood social media, with all of this content, all these new influencers, all of this new content, you don't just have one NAS daily, you have 1,000 NAS dailies, 50,000 NAS dailies, and for every single Muslim country, every single country of the world, speaking every single language. That's the strategy. You just drown out everything else, and you'll just censor who, or you gatekeep, as I mentioned, who has access to the technology, who can actually put out this content to the same degree. Because if everyone has the same access, then that's not going to move the needle in the favor of Zionists. You have to be able to control who can actually put out this AI content. That's where the media war lies. It's not about technology, it's about who controls the technology. So I want to play you some of this AI material. So this is, let me take you to Iran and Israel in the 1960s. One second.
Let me take you to the 1960s to show you Iran and Israel. Here at the airport in Iran, flights went every day to Tel Aviv, not rockets, Boeing. Iran launched. Let me.
Sorry. So this is all AI generated.
And Israel. Here at the airport in Iran, flights went every day to Tel Aviv, not rockets, Boeing flights.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard.
Back then, 80,000 Jews lived in Iran, and they lived in peace right next to their Muslim neighbors.
Grab more barbari bread. You'll need it to scoop up all those herbs.
Oh, it's disgusting. Barbari, not barbari. So the AI needs a little bit of help on the Farsi pronunciation, but it's barbari, not barbari.
Iranian students studied in Israeli universities. They spoke Hebrew. They debated politics. They made friends. The two countries even built an oil pipeline from the Persian Gulf to the Mediterranean.
Make sure the oil keeps flowing.
And yes, they even built.
Make sure the oil keeps flowing. Send that oil straight to Israel.
Weapons together.
Let's finish this before someone in Washington finds out.
Oh my God. This is the first time I'm watching this, by the way. Let's build this bomb before the US finds out.
The people didn't hate each other. They lived together. They partied together. They shared food and stories. And all of this stopped in 1979.
We won't be silent! Israel doesn't belong here!
Today, it's a different world. That peace is gone. But remember, if we had peace before, then maybe we can have it again. That's 1 minute. See you tomorrow.
So, excuse me while I get rid of this nausea. But so you can see like the way that this technology is going to be used, and it can be very effective. Like this can be a very effective. Instead of 1 minute shorts, think about longer, like short films. That's another medium that can be used very effectively, like short films, very emotional types of narratives you present like to unsuspecting people, and that's affecting their understanding of history. It affects their understanding of the future. This is brainwashing. This is mind control. So now AI is going to be used for this purpose. Okay, let me get another example. Let me just center this so it's easier.
To the year 1750 BC to show you a moment of peace between two enemies. It happened at the funeral of Prophet Abraham when his two sons came to say goodbye. Isaac, the father of the Jews, Ismail, the father of the Arabs. They were brothers, but they were enemies.
I didn't think you'd come. I had to. He was our father.
For one day, on their father's funeral, they didn't fight. They made peace. They laid their father to rest and showed the world even divided blood can unite. From their blood came billions of us, Jews, Christians, and Muslims. So look at this funeral and remember that we are all family, that we share the same Father, that we can live in peace and stand side by side.
Learn AI content. So he's teaching, he has a school of AI content. Yeah, so the Abrahamic religion, Abraham Alliance, Abraham Accords. This is absolutely disgusting. And this is not even a biblical narrative. Like Isaac and Ishmael are fighting and they come together at the funeral. I'm not familiar with this in the Bible. What is this referring to? I could be just misinformed or uninformed about it, but this is really disgusting. Let's see. I don't know what this Pope one is about.
It took 400.
The Buddha is not the person who spread.
It took 400. This book. It took 400 years to say sorry to this guy, Galileo Galilei.
Hello.
A great scientist who proved that the Earth moves around the sun.
Oh! I found the proof!
But the Catholic Church disagreed, so they sued him and arrested him for the rest of his life.
How dare you challenge the holy text? You're wrong!
We all know Galileo was right, but for almost 400 years, the Church said nothing. Until 1992, when the Pope finally apologized.
We are sorry. Galileo was right.
If you're looking for an apology, have patience. The truth always comes out, even if it takes 400 years. That's 1 minute. See you tomorrow.
So the whole point of that was to be patient with people so they might apologize if they've wronged you. Like, I thought it was going to be like the subtext is the Catholic Church dogma is wrong, science and reason is the future, science and reason is the way for humanity to progress, and eventually even the religious institutions come to realize how wrong that they were and that they will apologize. Like, that's the subtext. But he wraps it into this kind of message for soy boys, simps, like women, basically. Like, oh, your mean husband, he's gonna apologize. He'll realize that he's wrong. Your mean old boyfriend, he's gonna realize that he was wrong. He should have treated you like a queen. Okay, so that's all I wanted to say about NAS Daily. It's very shocking, the kinds of plot that they're plotting. And now I want to look at your commentary, your super chats. What do you think about NAS Daily and this Hasbara? What do you think about Rabbi Ferris and Shahid Bolstein? Ridwan says UAE should be held accountable for Sudan atrocity. Yes, they are involved in that, or driving that rather. True UN says, according to Ibn Abdul Wahhab's logic, the UAE is worse than Israel because they're kafir murtad shills for Israel. As always, your work is valuable. Jazakallah khair. Yeah, according to Ibn Abdul Wahhab's logic, siding with the if you side with a group that is attacking the Muslims, the true Muslims, then that is kufr. Then that is kufr and you become a kafir. Now, Ibn Abdul Wahhab would question, or he would deny, that the Palestinians are Muslims, because the Palestinians are not, they won't necessarily do mass takfir of those who accept istighatha, for example. So it's questionable whether Ibn Abdul Wahhab would consider the Palestinians to be Muslims. You see the followers of Ibn Abdul Wahhab today saying that no, the Palestinians are grave worshippers, they're deviants at best because they make alliances with the Rafidah in Iran. So you can interpret it in multiple ways. Thank you, Voss. He says, I love your dawah. To be honest, I've been pretty black-pilled about the state of the world lately, and I want to share the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying holding on to Islam will be like a hot coal. Yeah, that's what we have to keep in mind. We should be hopeful, and that's the nature of the dunya. The dunya is always going to be black-pilling. You're going to be black-pilled if you look at the dunya, but if you remember Allah, that's where your heart can find ease, is through the remembrance of Allah, is through understanding that Allah is the one who's in control. Allah is the one who is all-powerful. Allah is the one who is all-knowing. That's where your heart gains that peace and that rest, that tranquility, is by remembering the dunya is a fleeting thing that is not going to last. So no matter how bad it is, it's going to end eventually, and then Allah is going to be Allah is the master of everything. Daniel is literally a Harvard-educated Iranian nuclear scientist genius. Literally the biggest target of Israel. We're lucky to have him. Okay, well, thanks. Now they're going to start targeting me. You put a target on my back. Thanks a lot, Muad. I'm joking. I'm joking. So... Mesa says, does this traitor really think that his Arab employees will go against his ideology? Why would he hire someone who is against his demonic work anyway? Yeah, good point. Muslim Boogeyman says, Nazi Faley took the shekels like a scumbag. Seems that way. Any party or individual who allies with Israel is a munafiq, in all caps. Salam, brother. Thoughts on Al Jazeera? Yeah, I mean, Al Jazeera, they do have good reporting. They've had it in the past. I've criticized Al Jazeera and AJ Plus in the past because they have been promoting a lot of liberalism and feminism and LGBT. Like, AJ Plus is the worst. But Al Jazeera in English... Al Jazeera in Arabic is better, a lot better. Al Jazeera in English is a little bit better, but still worse than Al Jazeera in Arabic. Al Jazeera in English and Arabic, now, I don't know, whether they can be fully trusted to be unbiased. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little bit more skeptical than I was in the past, but I can't give you a final judgment. Thank you, BXZ, for your big super chat. May Allah bless you, Brother Daniel, and the audience. Ameen. Brother Muhammad, thank you for your super chat. Rabbi Ferris and Shahid Bolstein, king of nicknames. Thank you. Yeah, Bolstein. Okay. Any final comments? Brother Daniel is a graduate of philosophy, not engineering. Yeah, but I have a physics degree. My bachelor's is in physics. So it's not engineering, but it is science. I did study nuclear science, actually. So just FYI. John says, what do you think of the journalist Mahdi Hassan? He debated for Islam at Oxford and supports Palestinians, supposedly. Yeah, Mahdi Hassan is a complete shill. Like, he's a complete sellout. And he was the biggest shill for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. When he joined Al Jazeera, and then after Al Jazeera, he... what was the other station that he joined? He joined, I think, MSNBC, or he joined like one of the mainstream American channels, like one of the big channels with his own show. And he just adopted 100% the left-wing Democrat, establishment Democratic view of Israel and Zionism. And so he was laundering Joe Biden's support of genocide and then Kamala Harris. So he's a big traitor. He's disgusting, and I've argued with him a lot, and he's blocked me on Twitter. He just was I was just ratioing him, and he blocked me. So, yeah, Mahdi Hassan that's the thing, unfortunately, with some Muslims, is that you just see one thing from him. So, yeah, he had this debate at the Oxford Union, and he's defending Islam against, I think, a group of atheists. This is from like over a decade ago. And then that clip or that video, that debate goes viral and people see it all over the world, and they just see that, and they don't really follow for the next 10 years or 15 years the guy's career and how he's become like one of the biggest shills, Muslim shills for Israel. So they still think that he's like someone positive that should be supported by Muslims, when the opposite is the case. Every accusation is a confession. Yes. Oh yeah, that super chat is not related to the topic. I'm not going to do something completely unrelated. Okay, we're almost getting close to 2 hours, so I don't want to extend it. Don't want to extend it too much longer. Really appreciate everyone tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed the reaction to NAS Daily. the future of social media, the future of AI technology, influence operations being conducted to usher in Judeo-Islam. This is what has to be on your radar, especially as we get closer to full normalization with Israel. All of the Arab countries are potentially going to be allied and normalized with Israel. This is the future that we have to look forward to. So just recognize the influence operation. What they're doing is they want to get you to accept Zionism. They want you to accept the Abrahamic religion and to leave Islam. That's the ultimate plan. And it's coming fast and furious. And Nas Daily, as someone who is plausibly connected to Mossad, he's plausibly connected to the Israeli government, certainly the UAE government. This is what is being signaled as the future that's coming. So take it for what it is, a dire warning about what's to come. This is why you should tune in to Haqiqatjou, where we give you this type of content, preparing you for the future that is at our doorstep. So I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly enjoyed it. Thank you very much for your super chat and super chats and commentary. Appreciation to all the mods. Thank you for taking care of the chat. Saw Muslim Boogeyman, saw Dr. Sebastian, and who else? And some other moderators. I think those were the main two that I saw. Thank you very much, and we'll see you on the next episode of Haqiqatjou. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.